And here we go. How are all of you doing, gamers? It is I, the Blood Elf, on the right.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to another version of things that we think about and now we're going to talk about.
That's exactly what this show is called, and we're gonna acronym it right after. I'm gonna acronym it someday.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to see that one.
People are gonna be like, "Have
Oh,
you watched the new episode of Tikabulaboof?"
is it to dot p dot good dot?
Yeah, exactly. It's my favorite podcast on the internet.
That's it's my favorite stream of all time.
Oh man, I should be streaming this. I just click record.
No, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So we got a couple topics. A lot of them are our usual what we want to talk about, but we got some extra spice in there for you this time.
Yeah, we like to flavor it up.
You know, because you could have some chicken, but we gotta have a little spice on that chicken.
Well, it's like being a pizza chef. Like you're gonna make pizza all the time, but you know, then again, you wanna put different kinds of toppings on that pizza, and that's what we are. We're just two clueless pizza chefs.
And speaking of pizza, let's talk some Warhammer.
Yeah, see
Best
that.
smooth transition right there.
Yeah, I think that was a good segue. It was definitely not like a rumble strip or anything.
So I don't follow Warhammer as much as you do. So I tell me what's the going ons right now, and I want to get our opinions on it.
Well, I mean, when it comes to the best game, Age of Sigmar, um, really isn't too much news. They released a couple of Vanguard boxes recently, and then Kharadron Overlords just got their third edition Battle Tome, which
Ooh.
we all kind of saw that one coming. We're kind of getting to the tail end of Battle Tome releases where um, there's only a few of them left to go for each Grand Alliance, and you kind of just like, oh well, there's only two Chaos left. I know who that's gonna be, kind of situation.
It does kind of suck that eventually you get to that point where you're like, oh, I know what these next releases are going to be. It does kind of kill the hype a little bit.
I don't know about that because if it's one that you play and you've been passed up over and over again, like let's say you play uh, Flesh Eater Courts and all the other more popular Death Grand Alliance armies got their battle tomes first, then it's like you see the death pop up and you're like, oh man, that's me. It's about time.
That's me. That's me.
Yeah. It's like
Fair
it's like
enough.
you it's like knowing that you're gonna pull your name from the hat at some point.
That makes sense. I think
But
with
you,
releases like that, I guess it is two different games. To know with like Yu-Gi-Oh, you'll have like things release in the OCG over in Japan, and then like 6 months later we'll get it over here. So it does
yeah,
kind of kill the hype because like we know what these cards do compared to like in Warhammer where you know what's gonna happen but you don't know what's in there.
yeah. Yeah, like you can kind of get a grasp of what's gonna be in each battle tome, just because if you play that army, you'll know, like, oh yeah, this is still gonna be here, but it's probably gonna be like way better, or something along those lines. But it's still fun to go through the book and be like, oh man, this is way better than it used to be, or they just got rid of Legion of the First Prince and everything that made it worthwhile. But whatever. I'm not
I
bitter.
I feel like someone's still just an itsy bitsy bit of bitter.
Or it could be an army that you've never played before at all, and they end up being way better than they used to be. But how would you know? Because you didn't play them before.
Like
Like,
Seraphon.
well, yeah, but I mean, like Beast of Chaos for me, for sure. Like I've never given that army a second glance. But as soon as I saw Quake Fray, I was like, I like big cows, and I
Listen,
cannot lie.
you were on my side when I talked about how Beast of Chaos was the most forgotten like army in Sigmar. Like no one gave a crap. Oh, I didn't see anyone give a crap about the army, but apparently it was like the most competitive thing in the world. I don't believe
Yeah.
it. It's all fake. Fake
Yeah, I mean,
news.
it was a super competitive, like probably one of the top tier armies. But I do like previous to that knowledge, and when you first started playing Beast of Chaos, when you were like, oh yeah, the army is forgotten, nobody remembers it. It's like I agree with you in a way on that one, because like yeah, it was, when you think of Chaos armies in general, you think of the big four and then Undivided, like that's all you think about. um Nobody really kind of gives a second glance to, oh yeah, I guess there were some goats and cows that were screaming blood for the blood god too at some point. But
Except they're doing it in their goats and cow speak.
yeah, except they were going meh, which
And moo.
that alone, I probably just offended somebody. So
Good.
but yeah, and then for 40K, that one, they got that like Arcs of Omen campaign going on right now, and the really like big thing is the new campaign box that's coming out, which is um oh jeez, what are they called? Like the Demon Engines versus Dark Angels. So they're kind of
Mhm.
moving the Dark Angels storyline a little bit more now.
Okay.
They added in a new model for as the Grandmaster Azrael.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he's got an updated model now. He's not Primaris because most Dark Angels look down on Primaris Marines.
As they should.
Yeah, I agree. Keep that firstborn pride. But let's see what else. Oh yeah, so yeah, then there's just Vashtor, who comes with I think it's like a Venom Crawler. So now there's another way to get a Venom Crawler, a couple of Cultists, and 2 Obliterators. So I don't, other than the Venom Crawler, I don't really know why they call this guy like the Arcaphane, other than his uh lore, I guess. I'm not a fan of this guy, so I'm trying really hard like not to be biased because his model looks stupid. I don't care for his
You're not a
story.
fan of Vashtor the Arcfane, Chris?
No, I'm not.
How? He's so powerful.
Yeah, I
He's like
know. He's like,
he's 10 Bellicors.
I don't understand why, like, what the direction was for that. Like they remade Bellacor's model, and he looks phenomenal. He's just a scene. His whole model is a scene, and it's not like there's too much going on, because aside from the steps he's walking down and then the dead body on the ground, he's got a flaming sword, and he's a demon with giant wings. Like that's it's both simple, but but uh I don't know another word. Simple and beautiful.
Mhm.
Um, as opposed to this Vashtor guy who just looks like, that old joke that we used to make about the Tau Titan. I can't remember what it was called, but the one that was on Forge World, where it was
Yeah.
like, just put a bunch of guns in a box, put some glue in there, and then shake it up, and then there you go. That's the model. That's what they did for this guy. They just took a bunch of parts from like the Venom Crawler kit, and then a Rejected Demon Prince kit, poured some glue into it, shook it around. Oh no, wait! They also took the hammer from Primarch Vulcan and then put it in there, and then shook it up.
I'm not gonna sit here and say like this is the most beautiful model in the world. Um, there are aspects of it like I think, in all honesty, the base like demon part of it is actually kind of neat. Is it better than Be'lakor? No. Is it better than the
No, it's
Demon
not.
Prince you get in the Slaves to Darkness kit? No. But it's cool and it's different. However, I will agree with you that the spiky like wing bits on the back of them, they look dumb.
It's stupid.
I like the hammer personally. I like the whole lava theme on him, but overall, not a fan of the model. I like the demon part of it. If anything, I'd just build the demon part of it without the armor.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. of this model. I think it looks gross. I think it's sloppy and lazy, both in writing and in model creating.
I'll agree with you in writing. That's the super lazy writing.
Yeah, it is incredibly just plain. And it seems like they're trying to overdo it, and it's not like 40k lore. I mean, in my opinion, at least recently, has been very good. Um, there's bits and pieces and like independent novels that are still, or not, I say independent, but like Black Library novels that could still be pretty good. But when it comes to like the overall narrative, I could care less. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
after doing 40k end times, it's just like where are you gonna go from here aside from more demons and more demons? Like that's all we're getting.
Well, hey, whoa, whoa, hey. We still have demons.
Yeah, it's true. I guess there's some hope then, huh?
Yeah, exactly. See, I'm here. I'm spitting the facts here.
Big facts.
Big facts. I just want to take a second to say that in building, I am very thankful to the people who make the Slaves to Darkness kit for making them very simple to build.
Oh yeah.
Like
And
they do look good. Like even when they're built wrong, I have a couple that are built kind of incorrectly, but they still look good. So whoever is in charge of making those kits, thank you. I just wanted to say that. 40k. In all honesty, going back to 40k though, 40k really lost me when they did nothing with Huron Blackheart. He was my favorite Chaos character for a very long time, and they just did nothing with him.
Yeah, they kind of just sat on him.
They sat on and they had the perfect opportunity from like overthrow Abaddon, and because I think Abaddon has run his course.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is like that they've got all of these characters. So I guess it's kind of like how it's a horse apiece depending on which side you want to be on. Either you're on the side of let all the old characters die and bring the new characters in, or you still have hundreds and hundreds of these old characters that could really use some story push, and is it going to get over with the fans? I know I'm using a lot of wrestling terminology right now. I've been watching a lot of WrestleMania videos, so
Let's go.
but,
It
but
makes my heart sing that you are like watching wrestling things again, Chris.
very like I'm like taking Squidward nibbles of wrestling. Like I'm not jumping in and eating the whole Krabby Patty. Like there's just little tiny little num nums.
Just tiny little num nums.
Yeah, but yeah, like I'm on the side of we have all of these old characters that could really use like a story push, and I think Huron would have been a good one.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been nice to see him. I don't agree that Abaton that Abaddon has run his course.
Oh God, don't freaking
Yeah, I don't.
Abaddon.
Sorry, I just wanted to use his canon name, but
No, I will never agree that that is his canon name.
um, but I don't think that Abaddon has run his course. I just think that he needs to. I don't know. Like, I guess if I was writing the story, I would have him. I mean, he already destroyed Cadia, which whatever. Um, but I think
Whatever.
I would
Still sad
probably.
about it.
Yeah, it is what it is. But I would probably still have him deal with more internal threats than external ones. So like the whole Huron Blackheart thing, like having him take over the Black Legion for like a temporary amount of time would be pretty cool. Because then, were you to take Chaos Undivided and instead of Abaddon leading it and getting a bunch of special rules based on Abaddon, then you could also have the choice of playing the Black Legion special rules while they were under the reign of Huron Blackheart. Come up with a couple of stories about him and his victories, and then he gets pushed back from time to time, and then him and Abaddon can meet each other and duel it out on who's got the true Chaos Undivided faction. I mean, hell, even have the Chaos Gods back up here in like they back up Abaddon. Like, oh man, this guy's got some real potential. Maybe Abaddon's lost his luster or something like that. And then you could even split the gods up because then you could have maybe two of them that still think Abaddon is the guy for the job, and then two others that think that Huron's the guy for the job. And now you've got two beefed up Chaos Lords, and then you can kind of push off bringing out more Primarchs because you've got plenty of beefed up Chaos Lords.
No, I think that's a great idea. Just
I mean,
give Huron something. He deserves it.
yeah, because I mean, like the age of Warhammer that we live in, both Age of Sigmar and in 40k, uh, Games Workshop is too afraid to kill off any main characters. So, I mean, if we wanted to meet him in the middle, uh, don't kill off Abaddon, don't kill off Huron Blackheart, but let them, let them lose, let them fight within each other, because then Chaos can kind of even the undivided forces, because I mean, like the main Chaos factions of the four, they already don't like each other and fight each other all the time. But
Totally.
with Chaos Undivided, which their whole point was to not divide, if you then divide them and have two undivided factions, that could be pretty interesting. I think that
He
could be.
will not divide us.
I just think that'd be for some pretty interesting storytelling, and you could go a lot of places with that.
Yeah, but we're not interested in interesting storytelling. We're interested in selling models.
Well, yeah, and changing the rules of the game every 4 months.
God, just another reason not to play 40k.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe 10th edition will save the game. You never know.
I swear, they just need to make good changes for me to want to play 10th edition.
But yeah, that's basically it for like Warhammer stuff, at least that I care to talk about. Um, it's kind of like the most recent stuff. I mean, I'm still kind of butthurt that for like our slow grow armies. That's a good question. Have you made a decision for your March purchase of your slow grow army?
For the March purchase, I haven't. Although, if I had to guess, I'm probably actually going to get some mounted knights. Because I don't have any mounted knights.
Yeah, I had a feeling you'd go with that one.
I am building a lot more infantry than I thought I was going to build for this, but I like the stoic like nature of these these knights, that I don't want to get that lost between like some soul grinders or any of these like beasts. I like the evil knight or the chaotic knights that they are. I like a little bit of demons. I have 2 demon princes, so but I like that classic aspect of them, that I don't want to lose that.
Well, it is it is very dark fantasy, like
exactly.
It's got that old like 80s dark fantasy knight, like the one knight of darkness who's taken over the land, and it's up to the heroes to stop them. Except this time there's like 100 of the dark knights, so
exactly, and it just it's very scary.
Yeah.
I do plan on eventually getting, maybe for the one after, another hero, because I'm not going to use 2 demon princes all the time, and I do want a chaos lord.
Yeah, totally. Like
and
I agree with that. I think that you should, you can pick and choose, especially when we start doing like narrative battles, like which demon prince is going to be where, and then who the secondary hero is going to be for that group. Because I mean, I think most standard Age of Sigmar games nowadays, like from 15 to 2,000 points, you're looking at 2 to 3 heroes per army. So it's definitely pretty standard at this point.
I do, and like I want to get I almost said psychic unit. I do want to get a wizard, like a chaos sorcerer. I'm just kind of going back and forth because I want a lot of the heroes. I want a chaos lord, and I don't know if I want him on a manticore, on a Kardrak, or whatever it's called, the dinosaur looking thing. I want a sorcerer, so I actually can use some of the awesome spells that are in here. For a Path to Glory, I'd actually like to narratively make an Exalted Chosen of Chaos, where he's the gods are like watching him, like, oh, this guy will do something. Like keep an eye on him. I think that'd make for an interesting backstory for someone rising up the ranks in the Path of Glory campaign.
Well, that is kind of the whole point of a Path to Glory, is that you make your you make your Warhammer self-insert, and then you and then you just win battles and do
We write
good.
some fan fiction, is what we do.
That's right. I'm all about that fanfic.
All about that fanfic.
My Bulgor will never find love.
What about you? Have you decided on your March purchase?
Yeah, so that's what I was segueing into. Still haven't gotten my Cygor or Gorgon kit back in stock at GW. Still really butthurt about that, and I literally can't find them anywhere. I mean, I can find them online on like eBay and stuff like that, but they are
Yeah.
way overpriced. Like, this is a $60 model, and I can't find it for less than $90.
I'm not surprised.
And GW is dragging their ass on, getting those models back out. I mean, our friend who is a GW employee has already sent them a nasty gram saying, "Hey, I've got customers that want this thing, and it's not in stock online. What's going on?" And he has said before that this is nothing new. It happens all the time.
And that's a damn shame too, because like you have models on there that are like the made to order models. Like if you're that worried about not putting them in stores, just make them that.
Yeah, like if everything, we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar company that makes that in revenue. Like, that's kind of the big thing online right now, is everybody likes to point out that they make billions. I think it's like $2 or $3 billion a year in revenue. So like that's the money they get to keep.
Right.
And they can't even keep their warehouses stocked. Like, how is that? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't get how, because like you have the revenue of the money they keep, but there's no promise that that's profit. Even if half of that is profit, that's a huge amount of money that you're located only really in the UK.
Yeah.
Like you're obviously not. I remember, God, do you remember when GW was gonna have like a warehouse in the States?
Yeah, well, so that they already had one in the States. But what
Mm-hmm.
it was is that they were getting a Forge World warehouse in the States, so we wouldn't have to pay extra for Forge World models.
I feel like we're not utilizing the warehouse in the States.
Yeah, you you would think at the way that and the pace that everything is going, yeah, it doesn't feel like we're utilizing it at all.
I don't think we're utilizing anything. It's, you know what, and this is the reason why like people are trying to push for 3D printing. It like GW wouldn't have to worry so much about 3D printing and things like that if they were just more active with their models, but they change them so often. They don't push the models as like a like if you like made to order is nice, but it also takes them way longer for made to order.
Oh yeah.
And like they're not active on this. It's and if they were, if people want them to release like the STL files on them, that's one way to do it, but I think if they're just more aggressive with how they handle these made to order and these low in stock items and utilize more, either more warehouses or more distribution centers, they would see a lot happier of a fan base willing to pay more for their product.
Yeah, I mean, like, paying more is still a problem right now. Like, they have no reason to keep increasing their prices. They can't keep using the problems of inflation. Like, if anything, they're exploiting people right now with the
Mm-hmm.
inflation excuse. Just like gas companies, and I mean, at this point, GW with their business practice is no different than the fuel companies.
Mm-hmm.
They're just taking advantage of people that I guess technically, like, you don't have to buy models, just like you don't have to buy fuel, but driving is important, and then people's hobbies are important too, which is why 3D printing is such a huge competitor to Games Workshop right now, because you know people are able to find artists that will create something, give you an STL for, $8, and then you can just print as many as you've got for filament or resin.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Games Workshop really needs to step up their game. So and then if they want some free advice, I won't even tell them to go back on the recent price increases. If they wanna learn from their mistake, keep the price increase at where it's at that they've done recently. I think it was like a 10 to 30% depending on what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, keep that. Whatever, we'll get over it. Um, but aside from that, start making all of your models that you have online made to order. As long as it's not like a new kit, like new kits, those things that sell out within hours, well, like minutes really, but
Yeah.
they sell out. They sell out in minutes. So yeah, obviously make a backlog for those because they're going to be hot items. But for armies that didn't just have a battle tome come out, or hell, even if they did just have a battle tome or a codex come out, you might want to make those things made to order because people are going to want to start buying stuff because of new rules. Like a unit that was probably completely useless, it's probably going to be somewhat helpful in this new codex.
Right. And like, I hate giving credit to this company because they are a very scummy company, but they have handled their miniatures so much better, and honestly, their pricing model for everything so much better than Games Workshop. Now, two different games. I want to give a small amount of credit to how Wizards of the Coast has handled Dungeons and Dragons.
Oof.
Let me cook. Let me cook. Let me cook.
Man. Oh man.
Let me cook. The miniatures for Dungeons and Dragons, because what we're talking about miniatures and books and their pricing and everything like that. The miniatures for Dungeons and Dragons are pretty dirt cheap. I got a giant, not like an enormous, but I got a large ape figure. Pretty well detailed. It's not like, you can see sweat off of it or whatever, but it's a very well detailed model for what it's trying to accomplish. I got it for $8.
Wow.
And that was MSRP price. A lot of the Dungeons and Dragons miniatures, if they're not like a Tiamat or something, they're very well priced and well respectedly priced. They came pre-primed.
Yeah.
You could just
pre-painted too.
Yeah, you could buy. I wouldn't buy the pre-painted ones, but those pre-painted ones look really bad. But I guess if you want the color right away and you're not confident in your painting skills, fine. I don't really like painting that much, but I totally get it.
Hold on. This coming from the guy who was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna immediately paint my Knights of Chaos."
Look. You don't have to call me out in front of everyone. I haven't even finished building them.
I finished my Beasts of Chaos, but only because there's like barely any models in it.
Fair. But I don't really like the paint jobs that they do. They look very sloppy. But the miniatures and the fact that it's pre-painted and it's all very, very affordable it's incredible. They have been very smart with that. Their books, even though they're expensive, they're long-lasting. Like, think about this. What year did the 5th edition DM guide come out?
Like 7 years ago.
7 years we've had that book. Yeah, it was like $60, $70, but you've had that book for 7 years. That's $10 a year. That's a really generous model. And Warhammer can be the same, or at least similar, if they were to hold out their products more. And yeah, it used to be. Like, I liked when GW appealed to budget-friendly people, not with just their game, but their products. Because yeah, Kill Team is technically a more affordable version of Warhammer 40k, but you still have to buy a book. You still have to buy the miniatures. I thought the coolest thing that GW did for a long time was make the soft cover books cheaper.
Oh yeah, that was very nice. I liked
That
those.
that was so super nice of them because they didn't have to do that.
It's true.
They absolutely did not have to do that, but they did. They sold the soft cover, the books. I remember you could buy the miniature rule. I think you remember you could buy the miniature rule book separately, so you didn't have to buy the big chunky rule book. I might
Oh,
be
you mean
wrong on
like
that.
no, they so they had it. That was when the PDFs and like Kindles were really hot. So they
Hmm.
were doing no pun intended because they were called Kindle Fire. But anyway, um, but
Shut up.
Kin- Kindles and PDFs were really popular at that time. So yeah, they were selling the smaller softcover codexes for like 40K, and then you could get the rule book in a PDF form too, and then it was like $10 instead of 60.
Yeah, and I thought if you're just getting the rules, that's good. That's perfect. You don't need the lore or the pictures or anything like that. You just want the rules to play. That's so freaking cool to do that. And I commended GW a lot during that time when they did that. At a time where they didn't need to because they were still selling very well.
Yeah, I mean I've been tempted to pick up the third edition rule book uh for Age of Sigmar, because I mean there's still a lot of content in that book, like rules wise. I shouldn't say rules wise, but like for battle plans and things like that,
Hmm.
that we could be playing since the edition started. Because I basically because they started packing the rules for the game within their general's handbooks.
Hmm.
So you never had to go buy the $60 to $70 rule book. You could just go buy the $30 general's handbook, and then you've got all of the current new rules that they've added to the game, or like the updates to the rules, and then whatever the new battle plans are, the new Path to Glory stuff. I mean, all of it is condensed in this $30 book, which is like a binder. So you don't have to worry about like fragile binder or bindings or anything like that. It's got its own bookmark inside of it, and then yeah, the base rules for the game and all of the orders that you can give and things like that. So I mean, the 40K or sorry, the Age of Sigmar General's Handbook is such a user friendly creation.
Totally. And like I said, I that's why I wanted to give Wizards of the Coast like a bit of a good job on fifth edition of Dungeons and Dragons because the books are expensive, but they last a long time. The models are perfectly fit for what they are needed for, and D and D in general really encourages you to. You don't have to go with their models. I
Oh
mean,
no,
Hero Forge was built on the idea that you can make your own model and use it for D and D,
yep. I
and
mean,
so
I still use HeroScape models for mine when we play
yeah,
on our Saturdays.
and it's 100% like accepted and welcome in like adventure leagues and like Dungeons and Dragons in general. I think even Wizards of the Coast praises things like that to see user creations like that you're not really going to see with GW. There was a time where they did where kit bashing and using pieces from outside sources or even 3D printing your own things was very much a welcome thing for GW. Maybe not exactly the 3D printing, but it was a very much welcomed thing for GW, where even they showed off in like White Dwarf or even some of their codex. Um, but nowadays it's impossible to see. They only want you to look at their product and their product only, and I get that to a degree. But I think the best way to put it is looking at Sega. Sega is very lenient with their IP. I feel like GW should be too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of companies that could, benefit from giving out, or I should say giving out, but allowing people to flex that IP a little bit, and then be more creative with some of the things that they're doing. Because I'm sure that there's tons of stuff. I mean, I'm not even sure. I'm 100% positive. There's tons of stuff that the GW creative don't think of that the average Joe or somebody who's been in the hobby for many many years could think up, and then it ends up being a way better, more successful, more popular idea than anything GW comes out with.
Yeah, it's all about communication with the community, and not just the hardcore community, but the casual community too, because they matter.
Well, the casual community is where they make their money.
It is where they make their money, but you appeal to both. It's hard to appeal to both, but you try to appeal to both. And I think that GW in general, for the last few editions, has only really focused on their more hardcore audience in a cost aspect. In a gameplay aspect, I understand. Like there was a lot of talk that 8th and ninth edition were very beginner friendly, and they kind of ease you into the game much easier. Um, Even supporting smaller games that weren't as supported as previous editions. However, the models increased in price because of that. And I feel like both need to be addressed. Not just one, but both.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they tried to work with people when it came to, oh well, you don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on this thing. You can just get this one thing and play small little battles. Like that was the whole point of, or oh, well, let me rewind. So they came out with like these Vanguard boxes, or these I think they're called Boarding Patrol in 40K, where
Right.
it's essentially $140 box. So you're still spending $150 on way less models that you would get back in like the start collecting bundles.
Mm-hmm.
And and then they're like, oh yeah, this is your army. You could just play this. And then yeah, that could be your army, but I mean, why did we have to stray away from the start collecting box, which was $85, and 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 then that was like either an addition to your army or that was a good start to it. But you had the forethought to go, okay, this is only the beginning of this army. This isn't just a pay and play. You know what I mean?
Exactly. $85 is expensive to start a hobby, don't get me wrong. But it is, if you're really going to delve deep and you're willing to give this a try, say you played the test game at a GW shop, and they'll throw the starting box at you, but you want to just say, I want to build the spiky boys in Chaos Space Marines. And you go, I want to start something out. You could get one box of Chaos Space Marines and you could play like we did way back when we started Warhammer, where I had one Tau and a giant force field against your like one unit.
Yeah. I
But
think
that's
back
not.
to that a lot.
I do too, because I'm just like, man, we were creative.
Yeah, we just wanted to play the game, and we were poor children.
we
We were
were
poor
we.
children in a lower middle class lifestyle.
I think I actually still have the rookie model, Chris.
I love it.
But yeah, like most people don't want to play that way anymore, and I get that. But $85, I mean, you're only spending a little more than a brand new video game,
It's true.
and so
I mean,
like,
to take your examples from like Wizards of the Coast, with every edition of Dungeons and Dragons that they come out with, if you're gonna be a dungeon master, that's a $50 to $60 per book investment that you're making for that hobby. So that's 3 books that you have to get.
true, you're not wrong. I think personally, I think Dungeons and Dragons does a better job in introducing players to Dungeons and Dragons. I think their starter kits are phenomenal for that.
Well, yeah, their starter kits are just that. They are starter kits, and they're meant for that, as opposed to like they don't even call them starter sets anymore for Warhammer.
Nope.
Like they're not considered starter sets; they're called campaign boxes now. So when you hear campaign box, you go, "How am I going to get into this hobby?" And then they'll try to sell you on, "Oh, well, this has everything you need to get started." Like then why isn't there a starter set somewhere that gives me a base army and the rules for that army, like the codex and how to play the game with a rule book.
Yeah, it's they have they I feel like they have like a weird way to say this. I feel like they have a product idea overload. They want to do all these things, but they're focusing on maybe they're trying to do it all in one box. And that's the wrong idea. You need to have a starter box. You need to have a campaign. I think the campaign book worked better than a campaign box.
Yeah, I think it did too. Like,
because I think back to like the Battle of McCraig set. That was a starter set, but it was such a good starter set.
It was. It was a good starter set, a good narrative. You got really good models out of it. It was very well balanced. And you even got terrain features in it too.
Which is not something you can say for a lot of the new sets, is you don't get the same kind of deal on them. I don't know. GW could do a lot better. I'm hopeful, but I'm a realist.
Yeah. We're hopeful. We can have a little bit of hope. There's nothing wrong with having hope, but also to be sort of down to earth realist on it too, which is, yeah, I can hope all I want, but a big company gonna do what big company do.
Facts. And GW keeps making profit regardless of us. So.
Yep. I mean, we can join the boycott all we want, but they had record sales numbers during the GW boycott, so
yeah,
it didn't do very well.
It didn't do very well.
I mean, it's essentially like an addict trying to get off of drugs. It's like, yeah, I can say I'm gonna do it all I want, but when I need my plastic crack, I'm gonna get my plastic crack. It's gonna happen.
In all honesty, I don't mean any disrespect to other like miniature tabletop war games, but especially for longtime players, it's hard to jump into a new game.
Well, yeah, like I still to this day want to play Kings of War. I want to get an army for Kings of War. I want to play it. I want to expand on my droid army for Star Wars Legion. Like I'm open to playing multiple types of tabletop war games, like 100%. Um, when it comes to model quality, that's where I'll give Games Workshop their
Flowers.
what they're due, and that is that they do have like the hold that they have on the market is on their model quality for sure.
Oh,
It has
100%.
Yeah, like their game does not hold me to Games Workshop because there's plenty of other really fun tabletop war games. Kings of War, Star Wars Legion. But model quality, they will always come out on top with model quality.
Now, there's an argument too. Is there such a thing as like too much quality for the type of game we're playing? Because I remember I kind of had a similar thought when I was talking with you about, I don't know if we were like, it was an episode or not, about how I really enjoy the simpler models compared to the more dynamic ones today.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you bring that up every time we talk Warhammer.
Well, whoops, we're going again!
Well, no, I'm not saying we went in depth. I'm just saying when you make the comment of, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I've said this before, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I say it a lot. Because you get so much detail on these models, and it's cool up close when you see all of that, but you're not playing up close.
Right.
These are like 5 feet away above you, like, or below you. You're not touching, you're not seeing most of the detail anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's why like games like the Wizards of the Coast models for Dungeons and Dragons, they're not super detailed. They're detailed enough, but you're not gonna get like I said, you're not gonna see the sweat off of any of them. You're gonna get the shape, and that's it.
Yeah.
Don't start asking for too much now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that there's too much quality. I think it's more of just a personal preference because I mean that's very similar to say I don't need a sports car because I just need a basic speeder sedan from 10 years ago to get me from point A to point B because the whole point is that I want to drive. But but there is a market for people that are like, I want the nicest looking car. Yeah, it's going to do the exact same thing as the car that's 10, 15 years older with rust, but it looks fancier. So,
Really good argument. I can't argue against that. I did not think of that, and that's super smart.
But I mean, it's just That's like I'm not necessarily trying to like say you're wrong. I'm just saying that when it comes to quality of things or detail or what people are willing to spend their money on, I mean it's all down to, do you want to have the juiciest melon, or are you fine with just having, last week's melon?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to Warhammer talk?
No, actually, it went off on more of a tangent than I thought it was going to, than with me just stumbling over, oh, Vestor stupid.
No, well, it helped that I kind of just brought up some stuff too. Just like I think about that sometimes when we're like about all the past Warhammer shenanigans we had. Maybe I'll go over it next episode where I'll talk about my sorcerer on a bike.
Yeah, man. Sorcerer on a bike, cool guy.
But moving on, I'm glad I mentioned Dungeons and Dragons because you and I are both dungeon masters.
We are.
We've been DMing for quite some time. 5th edition only. I never DM'd anything else. Neither of you.
Nope.
But with all our time here, instead of D&D improv like we did last episode, I kind of want to go. Let's go backstage from the DM screen. Let's go backstage behind that DM screen. Do you have a story to talk about? When you were DMing for an adventure that you kind of want to share?
I thought you were sharing your 2 stories, and then next episode I'm doing mine.
Well, then we could do that. We made these decisions last minute, folks. But no, I have a couple stories. I have 2 stories I wanna talk about. The first one, it was actually one of the first times I was a young DM. I don't even think I was a year in. I had made an adventure, which is not something you should do as a starter DM because you have no idea what balance is.
Hey, there's plenty of veteran players out there that still don't know what balance is.
I wrote a very quick, casual adventure about people coming to a town, or the adventure player characters coming to a town and trying to solve a mystery of like 3 artifacts that were gone from that were stolen from a city. It was meant to be super simple. You were supposed to be able to finish it in one sitting. It was a one shot, just to see how I feel about writing my own things. So when you're a young DM and you're also a little brother surrounded by people who are much older than you, you don't tend to say no a lot. And
first off, it's like 4 years, man. We're not that old.
You strike fear into me, Chris.
Well, that's from the years of abuse. That has nothing to do with age.
Regardless, so when we were making our characters, we looked online, because, we're super into this new thing, and you were just like, I want to make a Minotaur. Minotaurs were not out by then. So, what we did is we took the Minotaur stat from the monster manual and just attached it onto your character.
Yeah.
The amount of damage this boy did, I had an instance where they had to fight against an animated armor. This was supposed to be a very hard encounter. It wasn't.
Yeah, like when we got into the gore rules and all that, it got a little insane.
Which, it was fun, don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the fact that it was you and 2 of your friends, and you guys were just on a quest to derail everything from the campaign that I had written.
Yes, I remember my days of being a terrible player.
So for context, you were supposed to be looking for like the governor's daughter or something along those lines, or the mayor's daughter who was kidnapped by some cultists. You find out, you find her, and then you would see that the mayor is actually a worshiper of Lolth, and is supposed to be like secretly evil. Now we didn't understand what was it like detect evil or detect
Div-
fiend.
Divine sense.
Divine sense, that's what it was. We didn't understand divine sense at the time, so we just thought it could help you just determine what is evil and good in the world.
God, wouldn't that be nice to have nowadays?
Oh my god, it would definitely make it no fun. That's for sure.
Yeah, but
Uh,
continue.
so the paladin, one of the friends, used divine sense on the governor or the mayor or whatever, and found out he was evil. They killed the mayor in front of the village, stole his daughter, and they had their way with her and moved on. We never saw from those characters again because I said, "What the hell did I just play?"
No, didn't our tiefling burn the orphanage down too?
Yes, he did. You're right. He did burn the orphanage down. In fact, if I remember correct, you burnt the entire town down.
We were not heroes, that's for sure. We
Um,
were all we were all angsty teenagers. That's what we were.
I tell you what, I talk about I think about that story. I don't talk about it, but I think about that story a lot. While I was like looking at all my DM stuff, because that was one of the earliest instances and almost an immediate lesson for DMs of be prepared to not be prepared.
Oh yeah, that's like rule number one. Aside from, well, I guess rule number one is have fun and make sure that the dungeon master is having fun too, because you are still a player. Um, but number two, yeah, easily for dungeon masters is expect the unexpected and know that no matter how much preparation you do, you're not prepared.
You're not. It was actually just kind of and early DM early dungeon master stuff. It's tough to learn and you definitely struggle at the start of it because you like if I wasn't so determined to be dungeon master at that time, which funny enough I wasn't. I was actually I thought you were going to be the dungeon master when we originally picked up the starter set.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, cool, a new game. Oh, you want to be the guy that does everything and does all the work, and I just have to roll dice and hit stuff. Cool, easy.
Yeah. But it was actually a really good lesson, and I'm thankful that happened because I'm more prepared now than I was any time. I actually think the times we had in Hindlide were better because I had that lesson of things are going to go off the rail. Just roll with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think the best times that people, I don't want to say like the best DMs, but like the best times for players and Dungeon Master is and when the games go really really well is when unexpected things happen and you just kind of roll with it within a logical reasoning. It doesn't always have to be, well, science says this, so this is how it works. Sometimes it's just magic. Magic did this thing.
Yeah, easy explanation.
you know like I had no intention of so I guess I'll tell a quick little story on my own here. But
Sure.
like, so in the current campaign that we're playing right now, the players are inside like a maximum security prison, and they asked how, like we were just kind of like role playing, and I didn't have anything written for the prison because I didn't think that the players were going to get there as fast as they did.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we did get there and they were walking around and asking the warden questions, I basically would have to come up with things off the top of my head. And some of the things that I was saying would have counteracted the things that I had said previously. So when they asked how all these prisoners were like here and we don't have to worry about feeding them and nobody's getting paid around here, like basically how are these prisoners staying alive? I went, they're in a time prison. The prison like freezes them in time, sort of. So
It
it's
it works
so
though.
and it does, and it actually helped make the rest of the stuff later down, like on our last session, because our last session was 12 hours. I don't know if I told you that.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I forgot to. Oh man, that's what I was like waiting to tell you that. We literally played from noon to midnight.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, I mean it was fun, but I don't think I'll ever do that again.
No, that's too much.
But I think it had been because we hadn't played in so long, so I kind of asked around the table. I was like, "Oh, this is a good stopping point. Do we want to stop here? Do you guys want to keep going?" And yeah, everybody at the table was like, "Let's keep going." I said, "All right." I had the content for it.
Which is
Um,
not normal.
yeah, yeah. Even for this next session, there's so much that they still didn't get to that I don't really have to write too much. Uh, but yeah, it was just kind of funny how that all worked out like that. Like, oh yeah, they're in a time prison that, however they go into that prison is how they stay for the rest of their lives until they get out of that prison. So like, if they're hungry or starving when they get thrown in there, then they're just starving for eternity. Um,
God, that sounds
so
terrifying.
yeah, yeah. So, and then it actually, like I said, worked out pretty well narratively. So sometimes, the things off the top of your head or while your players are talking, you just kind of write something down or you go, that's a good point. Maybe I should come up with something that actually makes sense.
Come up with something that makes sense. I'm the DM. It just works that way.
Yeah. So, sorry, I just kind of stole the spotlight, but go ahead.
No, hey, this is our show. You're allowed to steal the spotlight.
Yeah.
But I had another story. You and me pretty much. You're like my old one of my like. I only had a few groups to play D&D with, mainly you. But I want to tell a small story about Gravazzi.
Oh, go for it, man. I love this character.
So, Gravazzi was Chris's Dragonborn fighter. Um, and he was supposed to just be like he's just supposed to be a hero. Like he was just supposed to be a good guy doing heroic deeds because it's also nice to kind of have that archetype and not have things be complicated.
Yeah.
We were going through a pre-written adventure. I believe we were going through Horde of the Dragon Queen, a very edited version because my brain can't take that much information.
Storm King's Thunder.
Was it Storm King's Thunder?
Yep.
So it was we were doing the first chapter of Storm King's Thunder, and you have to kind of solve a way to get into to lower a drawbridge to get to a castle to talk to someone about what the heck is going on after a town is being invaded. And you're supposed to like maneuver a way to do it. This is like a huge 30-40 foot gap. And what does this madman do? He goes, "I'm gonna jump it." And I go, there's rocks at the bottom. He's gonna kill his character. But I didn't want to say no because it'd be really funny if he made it.
Yeah.
So my man gets a nat 20 on his athletics check. So I have him jump over the gap, have him roll through a crack inside of the castle, and then have him. I think I made you make a performance check too. Once you rolled in,
kick the door in.
Kicked the door in, rolled in front of the nobles, and knelt all in one roll. And I'm just like, that is the coolest character ever. Under no circumstance should that have worked. And I think at the time, I would have been like, if he fails this, he's going to get hurt. But I was like, he has to try it.
I gotta do it, yeah. No balls.
I
think Gravazzi, out of all my characters, is the most babyface character I've ever made.
Absolutely.
Even more than my life cleric.
Your life cleric is mean.
Yeah, I mean he was a nice guy and he cares about life, but he isn't afraid to throw hands, as opposed to Gravazzi, who's like every moment possible he's like, are we sure we want to fight? Like, come on, we don't have to do this. Like, even with the goblins that had already destroyed that town, he was still like, we don't have to fight.
We don't. I think you might have, if I remember correctly, you befriended a goblin who you let go.
Yeah.
Like, I love stories like that of characters doing some crazy stuff from a role. But Gravazzi really is a character I would love to explore more someday. Because I like... It's just it feels so different without being different. Of having just a nice guy character.
Yeah, like a true hero.
It's something so lost on a lot of like D&D media and like what players, because they just think I'm gonna be so bored with this. I'm a goody two shoes character, but even if you're a goody two shoes character, you can have depth and like a really cool role playing moment with some of these other characters. You could
Oh
make
yeah,
a Vegeta out of a character by being kind.
yeah, sure can. You know,
It
there's plenty of like characters that could come off cold, but end up being really nice or warm-hearted characters. But I
yeah.
mean, the whole thing with Gravazzi is that he's just genuinely a nice guy. He was a dragonborn, so I guess quick backstory. He was a dragonborn raised by humans, so he has very human tendencies. Doesn't believe in like the tribalism that dragonborn usually have. Isn't aware of how rare of a sight he is to see just because he just acts human.
Right.
Um, and you know, one of the things that I like, when I made the joke about like self inserts and things like that, that's essentially what Gravazzi was for me. Not I'm definitely not as nice of a guy as
No, you're
Gravazzi is,
not.
but you know, were I to be a super nice guy, that's how I would do it.
Totally. It's just really cool to see stuff like that. And I think I think Ravazzi may have been your best unexplored character, but I still think to this day the best character I have ever witnessed from you was Rahab the Ruthless.
That's a good character. I
I
would have liked to I would have liked to have kept playing him too. I think Lucas the Humble was a good character though for story wise, obviously. But I think he was fun to play, and I think he had the potential for good story, as opposed to Rahab, who was fun to play and already had a good story.
right. I think my as a small tangent to this because we're really good at tangents here. Uh I think at the time too, I was still developing my style of DMing because at the time I was building the campaign around the characters, and because our group had changed so much, it just fell off because of that, as opposed to making a world that the characters are in.
Yeah, that
And I
makes
think
sense.
that was my fall for that, where I really did want to explore Lucas more. I wanted to see more of what can happen around this character and in this setting, especially with his story of being the bastard son of the Hydlide family, the royal family of the kingdom.
Yeah,
Like I think that would have been so cool to explore, and even the idea that I talked to you about way later in like a post one shot game of having Rahab come back in Davy Jones' position.
yeah. It's like the new master of the sea, death at sea, or something like that.
Yeah, I would have been such a cool aspect
Yeah,
to have in that world if you were going to build a campaign based around the characters that are in it. I would say. Um,
yeah,
I definitely tried with Neo Hydlide, which in retrospect I think was the wrong move.
yeah, yeah. I think it would have been better to just pick up from where we were in regular Highline.
Yeah, I I I know we talked about it and I showed you the map, but I do like the Neo Hydlide map. I think it is neat.
No, it is cool. I just think that everybody was kind of like invested in their characters in the previous campaign, and that's
Totally.
why like starting all over in somewhat of the same world um was just a bit of a downer.
Yeah, it wasn't the right move, even though at the time you and I talked about it, we thought it was the right move.
I
Um,
I think I think it was worth the try. You know what I mean? Like it definitely wasn't a wrong move. It was worth a try, and it just
totally.
didn't work out.
Someday I would like to retry Hydlide with the
Oh yeah,
knowledge I have now, with and maybe even with a different outlook on how things will be built, with the new DM style of making the world with the players in it rather than the world being built around the players.
yeah. Yeah, it
because
definitely makes it a lot. I mean, because like the way that I do Silver Bullet Society right now with the current campaign, um, is it is very much a small scale. Like everything takes place within the school, and then in the forest, the Forsaken Forest surrounding it. Like they never go further than those two places,
mhm.
and that makes it to where the world around the characters is is somewhat done and completed, and then the characters, the only story that we're playing out is uh the character arcs for each player, and then
Mhm.
how they are going to change once we go around the table again, because we're starting off in one point, and then we make a circle around, and everybody gets their character arc, and then we're going to have like a 7-year time skip where everybody is graduated and they've got their job, and or uh what their profession is going to be, or where they're going to go. I forgot what they call it in college, like whatever their main study is.
Oh, like a
uh,
major?
a major, yeah. So they'll have whatever their major is, and then we revisit some of the stuff that had happened previously. Like they started a civil war in hell. That was one of the last things they did before the prison.
Mhm.
And 7 years is going to be a big chunk of time. And the 9 realms of hell, or the 9 layers of hell, might have changed a lot since then.
I I I gotta commend you on a lot of the things you do for your DM games. I think Silver Bullet Society is so cool because it is not a typical fantasy D&D setting.
Thank you.
Like I don't get me wrong, I loved going through Krail. I loved going through Krail.
Oh, Krail would have gotten so much better.
It would
Like
have.
this thing, it was super fun, and I had so much stuff planned out, and we never made it past, or no, we did make it past Act 1, which is just setting up the world. And I think the problem is that one for the biggest problem easily is we were playing online.
Yeah, I know that
We
wasn't your
weren't
thing.
we weren't playing with people that liked playing online. We were playing with people that needed to play face to face to be invested,
Totally.
and that includes me. If the dungeon master's not invested, then how can anybody else be?
Right, absolutely.
So that's been kind of my big thing on that. But I think Krail would have gotten, and that's another one that I'm totally willing to try again, because I put so much time and effort into that world. To just throw it away is not what I want to do. So
Yeah.
I'm actually starting up another game with some guys from work and their wives that wanted to try playing the game. So what I'm thinking of doing is that I'm going to come up with a quick little one shot for them, and if
Mm-hmm.
they like it, then I'm going to tie that one shot into the Krail storyline, and then or the Fife storyline.
Right,
It's not
five.
necessarily the Krail, but it's the Fife storyline, and I'm going to tie it into that, and then they can do all that stuff.
I think that'd be good. I think that'd be really cool. I think, in all honesty, I know we had talked and it was like it was going to be non-canon, but it's too canon in my brain. It was the death of Belric that made me like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
Like, I had never experienced a character death before because I was a forever DM.
yeah,
I never experienced a character death before, and one that I invested months into leveling him up and like building his entire character around. Um, that really sucked to kind of lose him.
yeah.
And I know we talked about like, oh, it's not canon anymore because that player left and everything, but
Well, no, there was actually a good reason behind it. I don't know if I ever explained it, but so one of the players actually came up with a canon reason as to why it could potentially be retconned. Or
uh
I don't even
huh,
want to say retconned, just undone. He could have undone the death of Belric using the Chronomax Distortium, which was a magic item that he had that lets him go back in time and manipulate it very, very subtly. Um, and there is potential that Belric would have lived if that player did that, but we never went back to play.
That's true. Yeah, we actually, I think that was our last time playing Fife was when Belric died.
It was. That was the last time we played. Because
Damn.
one of the players' lives got really hectic with work and home stuff
Totally.
and which it happens, we're all adults. And he had confided me before too that he really wasn't, like he said, specifically if we were playing in person he'd be having more fun,
Yeah.
but because we were playing on the computer he was still at home having to deal with the at home stuff. He didn't really have the world to get invested into because he couldn't see it. And
Right.
which it's the same way with if you just take casual conversation. Having casual conversation with somebody online, like through like Discord, like we're doing right now, does not compete with having you like come up here and just sit on the couch and we shoot the shit about anything.
Oh my god.
Like,
I think it's obvious because when we jump online, it's what are we going to do? When I
yeah,
come over there, we'll sit on the couch and not even think and start talking.
yeah, and then it's like we don't need anything to do because we can just talk.
You are my thing to do.
Hold on, try that again.
My brand, Nerevar, you are my thing. But yeah, I eventually we'll get back to our baby campaigns.
Yeah, yeah. Like
I
I would like to. I kind of have a feeling of where I'll be able to start doing Fife again, but I would most definitely like to see you Dungeon Master for the group again.
I'm not against it. I'd like to, and hopefully once I move closer, it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah.
The
Well,
2 hour drive is not the most fun.
well, no, but the same. So like the in-person gaming for Fife almost happened because there was talk about making it a bi-monthly game. So it
Hmm.
would be a game that only happens once every 2 months, and then that way you could plan around coming up here and when you were going to get time to play and how long you were going to play and if you were going to be here for multiple days.
Right.
So I don't think that's out of the question.
I don't think it's out of the question. It's something we can circle back to.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't mind DMing. I used to be super against it. In fact, I used to like want to quit Dungeons and Dragons altogether because I don't think I was having fun DMing.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a big one too. Like if you're a dungeon master and you're not having fun, like that's when I knew that Fife needed to stop because as much as I loved the world and the potential that all the characters and story had, I wasn't having fun. Like I was dreading coming online to play.
yeah, and like even when we were kind of meeting in person, the only time I felt like I remember I talked to you about this when we were doing in person Hide Lied. Um, the only time I ever felt we had a good session was the first session. And I remember you telling me like everyone was talking about how much fun it was, but I never felt it. Like the energy was just wasn't there.
Yeah, I think that would be way different nowadays because the our group is so much more, at least the players are so much more experienced than when they first, because you got to think for Highlight was some of the first bit of tabletop role playing that any of those people had done.
It's
Like
true.
the only people that had any experience with it were what, see, one, two, maybe three people, not including you, and you had a group of like seven. So
It was a lot.
yeah, so I mean, you got to think group size is what made that a bit more intimidating for you because it was your biggest group, and then on top of that, you had a big group of people that have never played the game before.
And there were
So
people I didn't really know.
yeah, that too. They were all strangers.
Yeah. It was
So
a rough time, but I think you're right. If we were to like restart the world and do it again, it would be so different. And I
yeah,
think everyone would have a
and
much different and more fun experience.
oh yeah, and their role play is awesome now. Like I can't describe, or I can describe it. I can't really fully explain how proud I am to see like the way that they've or like how far they've come from
Totally.
when they would play in Highlight to when they first started Throne of Gaia, which is another campaign we never got to finish, uh, to now in Silver Bullet Society. I mean, we've got one character or one player who his character he is fully invested in, and it's to the point of where like if I killed his character, I would feel bad. Like I would be like, oh man, I can't kill this character. He's my baby.
That's always a really good feeling. I felt that way at the start of Highlight because I'm like, if Rahab dies, the second part of this campaign of going to get the gem of water is screwed.
Yeah.
Because that's all about Rahab.
I mean, it could. I guess if he would have died, you could have made it about. Oh man, I don't remember what her druid's name was. But you could have made it about her, and then she just has to deal with the sins of the husband.
Sins of the husband. Oh my god. Now, eventually I'll get back to it. There are people that at work that are like passively interested. There's one guy at my job that wants to, but I don't like him, so I don't want to.
Hey man, there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's people that talk about how they want to give it a try and how they want to play, and I'm just like, that's cool. Not in my campaign, but you
Yeah,
should definitely try.
especially because he has told me he wants to grief his teammates, and I'm like, I don't want to play with you.
Sounds like a League of Legends player.
Yeah, a lot of fun. But yeah, those are some of the D&D behind the DM stories that I wanted to just touch on. We have a million more.
Oh yeah, there's tons of other behind the screen stories that will be addressed at some point.
That will be addressed. So we're still on topic of Dungeons and Dragons because I got more to say. Um, I wanted to talk quickly about or maybe not quickly. I don't know how long this is gonna last. I want to talk about some of the pre-written adventures for Dungeons and Dragons, and I bought into a lot of D&D pre-written adventures for 5th edition. Like Tomb of Annihilation, Horde of the Dragon Queen, and the Tiamat storyline in general. Storm King's Thunder. I bought so many of these campaign books. And to be honest, I didn't like any of them.
Yeah.
I think like I think my problem with how D&D makes its campaign books is, and it's going to sound kind of weird, but it's the fact that there's so much information to them. Like you have a story to tell, sure, but it definitely feels restrictive. Like the you can't, they want you to customize it. I know that they want you to edit it and make your own story out of this story, but
Yeah.
it feels so hard to do because it takes place in the Forgotten Realms world, and you kind of need to know the Forgotten Realms world to like appreciate the things that are in this book.
Yeah, I can kind of agree with that. That it feels like you have to be invested in the Forgotten Realms storylines in order to play a lot of those pre-written campaigns or modules, as they call
Totally.
them.
And like recently I picked up this is from what company is this? Legendary Games. They released like a 5-part beginner campaign booklet called Legendary Beginnings, and I think these are better than Wizards of the Coast beginner stuff, mainly because it doesn't start you off with something large. I think that's a pitfall a lot of DMs have had, where they will throw a world-ending thing at a party of level 1s. And like in a massive storyline sense, it makes sense to build a world like that. But when you're level 1, you're not supposed to be an epic adventurer or at least that's not usually how it is.
Right.
So,
Which is true.
and like,
It's usually why I don't start my campaigns at level 1 anymore, just because it's like I want them to kind of feel like they're already established as somewhat of heroes, or they've done at least one good thing.
totally. And what's really cool about these is that it's from levels 1 to 5. You get I think you get a level per book, which is kind of weird to say, a level per book. But these are not thick books. These are maybe like 2 maps.
That's fine. Like
Yeah.
you said, it's supposed to be small.
It's supposed to be small scale. It's supposed to be for beginners. This is actually technically supposed to be for families. So like kids can join in this. But their level 1 thing is starting you off at a bandit camp.
Wow.
Super
That's a
easy.
little. Yeah.
It's super simple. You're going to help because there are bandits attacking in a cave. That's where they're camped out. You'll meet fantastical creatures along the way, but it's simple. It's straightforward. And if I
Yeah.
want to customize it, it's not hard to implement things into this story. And
Well,
I think
I've heard like comments on similar to what we were talking about, like the Warhammer stuff. Um, there's two sides that people are on, and the sides that I've heard the most are Dungeons and Dragons is at its most fun from levels 1 to I think 8. I think they said,
mhm.
um, or Dungeons and Dragons is at its most fun from level 10 to 15.
And
And
there's arguments for that.
yeah, for both sides too. And
Yeah.
I agree. I think that it could just be the most fun regardless of,
Level.
uh level. Yeah. Like, people complain about, or dungeons masters will complain about how their players are too strong or they're min-maxed or something like that. And it's like, you're the dungeon master. You are God. Just get around it.
Yeah. You have like 7 books of information to combat against this. Do it.
Yeah.
I think often, and then like God, your encounters are incredible.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
for a lot of your combat encounters, they're incredible. And I know I ruined some of your encounters, like with Donnie Tell All with your witch. You were very excited to use.
Oh, that's fine, dude. It's not a big deal.
But you actually remember that the environment can be an encounter.
Oh man, I should read you. So all of the prisoners, or most of the prisoners, have because the whole thought process to this prison is like a magical SCP containment facility,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually have custom fights for most of the prisoners. I should read them off to you sometime.
Absolutely. But
But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
no, and I'm commending you because a big thing DMs will forget is that you don't have to just have a monster with a lot of health and that can deal a lot of damage. The environment can be a challenge.
Yeah.
If you're fighting in a blazing hot desert, your character can have levels of exhaustion just from being. And if you're dealing with something that's tunneling underground, you've already created a very difficult encounter, even for high leveled players.
Yeah.
The environment is a huge thing, and it's something, again, you can't really toy with in a lot of the D&D modules, because everything has been made a specific way for this story to be told.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because I remember we talked about it a while ago, because we talk all the time but never record.
Yeah. That was our biggest curse, and that's when we were like, we should start a podcast. We talk a lot.
We talk a lot, and I don't care who doesn't listen.
Yeah, I
But
only care about those that, maybe, never mind. That's
but it's not as easy to slot, and I know we had the talks a while ago about um things that are more railroaded compared to things that are more open. Um, and I feel like the modules are very heavily railroaded. Like you go to a specific thing each time. And that's cool. There's nothing wrong with having a campaign like that. But you definitely are going to have less wiggle room if you wanted to make the campaign more of your own.
Yeah, that's true. Because you're still playing somebody else's story that you're just modifying, as opposed to a world that you create with a story that you create and a bad guy that you create.
Totally. I would suggest to any striving DMs out there, or maybe DMs who wanted a little bit of extra help, I would. I'm not going to say stray away and don't buy a module if you want to run that module or you want to run a campaign similar, because it can be used for like ideas. But really look towards some of the third party stuff, because there are plenty of people out there that have adventures simple enough for you to go, okay, what can I do with this?
Yeah.
Did you have anything to add? I kind of took over that whole bit.
No, that's fine, dude. It's just with the modules, like I don't think they're bad, and I don't think all of them are as railroady as the others. I will probably never run a module. I don't mind playing in one. That doesn't bother me, because I feel that maybe with some of the decisions that I make as a player will force the DM to have to customize and change things about the module, probably for the better.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like having modules as, like you had suggested, as references. Uh, Not necessarily for um, like for me to play them like
Mm-hmm.
that, but for maybe like a monster in the background, or like because they usually have like NPCs and monsters that you can use specific to that adventure, that might fit better in in a world that I'm creating.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then some of the magic items that are from those adventures could work out really well. Uh, I mean, and if you really are invested, some of the NPCs are good enough with their personality traits and qualities that could mesh really well with the party too. So it like there's a lot of good pre-written stuff that Wizards of the Coast has that is totally worth buying the book for, to not just play the campaign.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. Um, but I think it's time we step away from the DM screen and the table for a bit. And I take you to a controller in your hands, because I need to know, Chris, what are you playing right now?
What am I playing?
That's the
Well,
segment, guys.
yeah, that was a segue into the segment.
Look, I'm just on top of it today.
Yeah. Well, we are drinking our soda stream while we stream.
Hey!
But so I've actually been playing two things that in combination would take up the amount of time I put into games like Divinity, or whatever else I was playing in our last session.
Totally, like, hear me out. I want to hear him.
So I've actually reinstalled Diablo Immortal,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been playing a bit of that kind of in my free time whenever I get that. I'm reluctant to call it free time, but in my downtime,
There you go.
that's better. In my downtime, I popped up Diablo Immortal just because it is fun and it is free, so it's kind of like those. If I just want to go run a quick, because it's fast paced. So if you want to just do a couple of things and then call it a day, it's pretty normal. Um, Not it's like story wise, I'm not super invested because it's it's an okay storyline that I've already played through on one character, so I'm doing a separate character now so that I can keep up with like the wife's character and all that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, but yeah, it's just that's one thing that I turn on from time to time.
Totally.
However, there if you want the game that I'm playing right now,
Hit me with it.
I have actually invested a lot of hours into old school RuneScape.
Let's go! Yes!
I've I've actually been playing it this entire time we've been recording.
Yes! Oh my god! No, everyone who is not like in the know, I've been playing RuneScape 3 forever, and I sing praises of how good RuneScape is as a game. And Chris would always be like, "Yeah, I'll probably never jump on RuneScape again. It just doesn't interest me anymore." Hearing this is legendary.
I had a feeling you'd be a little excited.
Hell yeah, man!
I've always wanted to go back to playing RuneScape the way that it is, and RuneScape 3 just wasn't doing it for me. Like, I know they had the legacy mode, so I could at least do combat the way that it used to be, but I can't play the game the way that when we grew up. And then, old school RuneScape has always been like it's always been in my thoughts, like, maybe, but then I'd have to start all over again, and I worked really hard on my original character, and I have all this cool stuff on him. But then I really did think about it, and I went, the game is about the journey. The whole game is about, progressing and making the character. And my character in RuneScape 3 is already pretty strong, has all the good stuff, and, can hold his own in pretty much any situation. Um, so it was almost like exciting to think of the idea of, oh man, now I get to do this all over again. Like, I get to, build up. I like all I've been doing has been building up my mining and smithing right now.
I fucking do it.
Because I want to have a full set of bronze armor before I go out and start building up combat stats. So that's basically what I've been doing. Is I just mine and smith until I get them up high enough so I can make my full bronze set, and then I'm gonna go kill cows in the field and build up a bunch of food, and then I'm going into the Varrock sewers.
Oh, that takes me back.
I know. I'm doing everything that we did when I was 10, probably younger than that.
Oh my god, that I might jump on old school RuneScape now. Like,
yeah, because I've had this mentality with some of my console games, especially like on GameCube and PlayStation 2. Like, I'll turn those on because I really want to play like a game, and then my memory card will be like, oh, sorry, got a format, we died, or something like that, and I'm like, well, that sucks. And then, my mentality on that is, well, I mean, I had a lot of fun with this game, so now I get to play it all over again. So I guess I just needed to I needed to summon that me in order to finally build up you know what, I am gonna play some RuneScape. I want to play some RuneScape.
it's a hard mentality to grasp that you can finally say, like, yeah, all right, I want to take the time to do this. When I was jumping back onto RuneScape 3, I had to build that mentality too, because I'm like, oh, I gotta build up all this mining and fishing, and that's gonna take so long. And then I did it. I popped on like a YouTube video while like leveling up my mining. I'm able to craft rune armor. Like, it took time, but it was about that. That's the point of the game.
That is the point. The point of the game is to put the time into your crafting, because I mean, like you had said before in our tier list for MMOs, um you had brought it up how you said, RuneScape is an MMORPG, but it is a single player MMORPG.
Exactly.
Like, you have the ability to do like raids and dungeoneering and stuff like that, and PvP. Like, you have that ability, but this is a single player game.
At its core.
At its core, it is a single player crafting adventure game.
And it's so cool that an MMO back then got it.
Yeah, this is essentially Minecraft before Minecraft.
Facts. I actually, for my business project, I had to use RuneScape as a test example because I was trying to pitch World of Warcraft mobile, and one of the things I had to buy was, like, for a reference book, was the 20-year RuneScape illustrated history book that they came out with.
Okay.
So it was actually really cool to go through to see, like, RuneScape in its infancy, and you actually get to walk through all the growth that they made. It is so cool to see this game grow up, along with experiencing it grow up.
Yeah, it's definitely different when you not only watch it, but you were there. You were
Yeah,
there the whole time, and yeah, I just that's the best way to explain it. It's just like I was here, I witnessed it all, and to see how well it's still doing, is good to see.
it is. Because it's not just the old veterans playing. There are new people coming to the game and playing RuneScape. It's
Yeah,
a simple game to play, and you can't say that about a lot of MMOs and a lot of just games today. They're not just simple.
yeah, and I think one of the because so I've been doing this for like a week or so now, playing old school RuneScape, and it it I kind of got that feeling because today, or I guess yesterday, I logged back into World of Warcraft because it was the free weekend.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, it was free weekend for WoW, so I was able to log in, and I jumped in, and I jumped on my warlock, and I was like, yeah, okay, I don't really remember where I am in the story right now, and I just started like doing quests in my log and fighting some guys, and I'm just like, nah, I'm still not feeling it yet. I'm not ready to come back to World of Warcraft yet, and it's not that the expansion is bad because Dragonflight has been amazing. Um, it's not that I'm not having fun with the new talent system because it's amazing. Like literally everything about World of Warcraft is good. There's just something in me that isn't ready to play right now.
And that's, I mean, like, you got to think about the fatigue we had with Shadowlands. We played a lot of Shadowlands, not
Yeah,
necessarily because we liked it.
yeah. We just wanted to play World of Warcraft, but
Exactly.
yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a bit of burnout.
Yeah.
I go through burnout with all my hobbies. But yeah, right now, World of Warcraft. I mean, what it really is I just want to play some freaking Age of Sigmar. That's all I want to do. Like, I just want to play some Age of Sigmar and roll some dice, and nobody wants to play with me because everybody's far away, and so I get sad. I get so sad that I play RuneScape. Sorry, I lost my cool there for a moment.
You know what? You're allowed to. You're allowed to. I get
Oh,
so sad. I play RuneScape. That needs to be on a shirt, and you need to put that as like your Facebook profile thing.
yeah.
I'm so sad I'm playing RuneScape.
Yep.
Um, I can't beat that with the games I'm playing.
Yeah, like I said, I figured you'd be really excited to hear that I've been putting a lot of time into old school RuneScape.
I'm probably going to be playing old school RuneScape like tonight because I'm
Hey
so
man, I'm
excited.
I'm only combat level 3. It's technically still a fresh character.
Well, because I know I'm pretty sure I have to start a fresh character on my old school account unless I already had one. Because I remember
No,
I did play a while under my old Grand Cooper Gaming.
oh maybe I don't know. It made me start a new character, but I still got to keep my Blade King name
Oh,
because
nice.
it's because the account name is locked to both servers.
Gotcha. I'll figure it out and let you know.
Yeah, because
Um.
I still have you on my friends list here.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
On my old account, my Spartan account, that's gone.
Yep. I have that and the Nasdrag account.
It's probably the Nasdaq account then. So yeah, I should still have a
I mean,
count on there.
yeah.
Um, I'll talk quickly about my games because it's not going to be as interesting. I've had a pretty busy couple weeks with. I had my finals week for one of my classes, and then I had my 2 year anniversary with my girlfriend. We went on vacation for, so I haven't had the most time available to sit down and play a game. But similar to you with Diablo Immortal, that's how I've been with RuneScape 3.
Okay.
Like in my downtime, I'll just go on there, and I've just been heavy focusing on woodcutting. Like, oh my god, I'm the grind. I remember reading about it. The grind of XP you need to get from levels 1 to 95 is the same amount of XP to get from 95 to 99.
Wow, that's brutal.
It's brutal. I'm at like 72 right now. Um,
Okay.
but my problem is my combat level is not high enough to get to the other trees to level them up efficiently. So I've been instead of leveling up my combat, like a normal person, I was like, well, what if I just cut the maple trees? Those are worth 1,000. Meanwhile, I need like 1,000,000 XP.
Yeah. Man, you're gonna have to cut down a maple forest at that point.
Literally, it's terrible. It's the good thing it's been being played on my phone mostly. Like I'll go on like when I'm on my meal, I'll just go and chop a few trees down and then call it a day.
There you go.
But that's been really fun. I even did like a couple quests. I never really explored most of the. Oh my god! Hold on. What's the desert called?
Alcahard.
Alcahard. I never explored a lot of the Alcahard desert, like further to the south of the town. But it's been really interesting to see. And I'm like combat level 30, so like I can fight these things for the most part.
Yeah.
So it's like it's been really interesting to actually explore parts of the game I never got to explore as a kid, even when I was a member, because I was just so focused on fishing back then.
And cooking. Yeah, you were the fishing and cooking guy.
Well, no, the other Chris was the cooking guy.
Oh, yeah.
I had to hand him all my lobsters just so you could have food.
I like lobster.
But the main game I've been playing, I don't remember if you know this. I don't know if you know this game. It's an Xbox 360 game called The First Templar.
Yes, I do.
So I finally decided, I bought this game a while ago and played it because I was like, I got burnt out from the hack and slash of Conan. I thought this was going to be an RPG and just be like, oh, a cool Templar Knight feel RPG. I dig it. What a good game this is. So, it's a hack and slash with minor RPG elements.
Okay.
But what's cool about it is that it's not a fantasy game. It is set in the 13th century.
Nice.
You are with the Templars fighting against the Inquisition.
Oh.
Yeah, so you play, I forget his name, unfortunately. I'm only a couple hours in, which unfortunately is about halfway through the game. From what I've seen, it's only like an 8-hour game.
Okay.
But you play as a Templar with another Templar, and you're kind of going around trying to solve, like, what's going on in these towns. Why are people talking about this great beast? What is the church doing? You start slowly finding the corruption in the church that literally happened in history.
Yeah.
And you start learning about the Inquisition. You have to save a woman who's been kidnapped. It's a really cool story playing out like before you. It's nothing groundbreaking. You're not going to be like emotionally invested in these characters. But I think the setting itself is hard to do. There was another game I played called Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Oh yeah, that one. If you say you like that one, that's a hot take.
No, I freaking hated that game.
Yeah,
but it was very accurate to the timeline it was in.
Yes.
And that's something cool I will say about the game, is that it was very historically accurate for the most part.
I do love things that are lore accurate.
Yeah. And the First Templar, not the most lore accurate thing in the world, but it has the specs of real world history in there.
Yeah.
Learning, like, being part of the whole Crusades and the Inquisition thing, and having being part of the people who are like, dude, what is the Inquisition doing? These people are crazy. Like, it's cool to see people seeing knights reference, like, God. Like,
yeah.
What? You don't see that in games anymore.
No, not really.
So, that's been very fun to play. Gameplay's really solid. It's hack and slash, but done right, where it feels okay to mash X a bunch of times. And unlike Conan, everything works. Dodging works, attacking works, combos work. You can swap between two characters because technically it's multiplayer. This is a cool game, and I know the game is short, and I'm pretty much halfway through the game already. I'm still excited to see you like play more of this game. Like, it's going to be fun.
There you go. Speaking of Xbox 360 Templar games, do you remember a
Ooh.
little unpolished gem called The Last Crusader?
It's funny you mentioned that because I actually think I picked that up a few days ago.
Oh, did you?
No, never mind, never mind. I didn't pick that up. I was thinking of Kingdom Circle of Doom. The Last Crusader. It sounds familiar.
It was another. It wasn't a hack and slash. I mean, it was a combat adventure game, and you played like in the third person, and you played as like these two Templar dudes that were trying to like take out these corrupted cultists and demon worshippers or devil worshippers. And you found out that you were a crusader whose bloodline was tainted, and you could like tap into your devil powers. Essentially, you would just devil trigger, and and you would fight against other unholy beasts.
That sounds freaking amazing. I just looked
It's
up. I looked up the picture of the game. I do remember the game picture.
yes, is not a great game, but that's all. That's the only road I wanted to take on that one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'll probably end up playing it because I gotta try it.
Oh boy.
Dude, I tried
Hopefully,
to.
hopefully there's a video that coincides with it this time.
I hope so. But man, I didn't mention this. I mentioned it to you, but I didn't mention it when I was talking about the games. I was actually going to try a different game besides the first Templar.
Ah, yes, the one that I foresaw you playing.
It was so I did not tell him anything about this game. All he did was hear me play it. And
I
all I
didn't even
said,
hear. It's like I didn't even hear the game.
no, he just heard me playing it, and all he heard me say was, say the line, say the line, say the line.
And oh yes, the warriors, the hard ones. And he was like, "How did you know I was playing Two Worlds?"
Genuinely scary.
Yeah, I told the story while your mic was out.
Well, thank you. But yeah, Two Worlds, not a good game.
Yeah, I mean it's not great. I mean Two Worlds 2, because I actually picked up both of the games because there was a sale for to get both the games and like the tactics game for like $3. So I picked that up. Played Two Worlds 2, and like it's not as bad as Pro Jared was making it out to be, but it still wasn't great. I think there's a delay in our talk right now.
No, there's not a delay. I was plugging my headphones in because
Oh, okay.
yeah. So it was a good game. I can't. The Two Worlds horrible game. Couldn't even get past the first stage. I said I'm not doing this. I'm playing a different game.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
we can let's move on to a different topic here.
Okay. Yeah, baby, I'm all bronzed out now. Time to go fight some cows. What's the next topic? Going down the list.
We're going down the list. Um, in terms of next topic here, mobile gaming.
Ah, yes, that's right.
We just I wanted to talk about mobile gaming. It's not as much of a controversy anymore, but there was a time where mobile gaming was kind of the hot button topic, and people have a lot of problems with mobile gaming. And I'm unfortunately a defender of mobile gaming in itself, and I just kind of wanted your opinion too, because I don't really hear you talk about mobile gaming much.
Because they don't really do it. It's not that I, it's one of those things that we were kind of in the area of when we talked about. I guess they don't really coincide with each other, but I'm going to say it anyway. Um, it's kind of like when people were like, oh, loot chests are the worst things ever, and then like now it's, oh, battle passes are the worst thing ever. Like I like that was kind of the feeling with mobile gaming. Like, oh, mobile gaming is just murdering the gaming market, and people don't need to try hard to make good content anymore. And the thing is where that outlook could be applied to uh like AAA games nowadays too. The game is beautiful and the characters may not like the gameplay that much, but then you get a bunch of like AAA titles that come out from these big companies that don't release a completed game and still expect you to pay 60 $70 for it. So like I'm going to give way more credit and kudos and probably money to a mobile company that releases a completed game with updates than buying a uncomplete or an incomplete game that's, the updates are just going to be things I have to buy more of. That's kind of my stance on that.
No, I think that's a hill worth dying on for that.
Yeah. Like I don't think it's bad whatsoever. Like there's nothing wrong with mobile gaming or anything like that. Um I just, me personally, don't play a lot of mobile games. I mean, like I have stuff on my phone. Like I have a Star Wars game that I go on every once in a while. Uh I have Carnivore's Ice Age, but none of these will get open more than maybe once a month.
And that's because like mobile gaming's like turned into something like that. It didn't used to be that. Um, it definitely is a there's a certain product you want to go for it. I have a lot of mobile games on my phone. There are some I haven't touched in about half a year. I haven't touched Call of Duty Mobile in forever, but I still think it's a fantastic mobile game. And I think mobile games today are where mobile gaming should be. You'll have games like Pokemon Masters EX. Is it a gotcha game? Yes, but it's a gotcha game where you don't need to spend the money.
Yeah.
It's a game where it's like you get gems from frequent events enough to where you can buy and get some of the highest rarity characters. Same thing for like Duel Links even. Now all the Duel Links players say you got to spend like $1,000 on the game. You don't. I maybe have spent about $100 on the game in total since its inception, and I'm fine. I'm not saying I have the best decks in the world, but I can play the game to a very high degree, and that's where mobile gaming should be. It should be where you're just paying for extra, not and maybe paying to get a thing you want, rather than being able to pay to play the game that I constantly hear people saying about, or that I used to hear people constantly complaining about for mobile gaming. I like what
Yeah.
mobile gaming is, and I want to see it keep growing in that direction.
Yeah. I mean, and there's products that really show like to all, I've gotten a lot of flack from people at work and then a couple of guys on here that we talked to when I said, oh yeah, I'm playing Diablo Immortal right now, and like I kid you not, every first response is, ugh, sorry, something like that. And I'm like, dude, it's actually a really good game. Like it's free first off, and it plays exactly like Diablo 3. Everybody loved Diablo 3, so I don't understand why this one is bad. Like yes, it had a really bad opening. Like nobody could forget the meme that is, do you guys not have phones? Obviously. And was Blizzard in the wrong on that one? Absolutely. But they've actually done a really good job with visual quality and gameplay quality of Diablo Immortal, and the fact that it is still a free game. Like people complain about the microtransactions and that PvP is pay to win. Like yeah, it PvP is absolutely pay to win in that game, but you know what? The majority of the game isn't centered around PvP. There's two arenas that you can play in, as opposed to the hours and hours of actual storyline that you can play. So that's why it's like like Diablo was never meant to be a PvP game. It is a PvE a hack and slash story through and through, and it will always be that way from Diablo 1 to Diablo Immortal. Even Diablo 4 is going to be the same way. So that's kind of my defense to mobile gaming right now, is that when it's done right, it's really good. And there's probably people that don't like it just because it's Blizzard and it's easy to make fun of Blizzard. You know, like
Oh, no doubt.
they make mistakes. It happens, and some of them are very detrimental. Some of them are, you know, almost almost hobby killers with how bad they are. But it is what it is, and they just like any other content creating company are gonna hopefully learn from their mistakes, and I think they did. I think they saw that Diablo Immortal had a really bad uh opening, and with that, they just kind of went, okay, well, we need to reassess the situation here, and I think they did.
Yeah, that I mean, you spoke it better than I ever could. Like, this is exactly what that's exactly where I want to see mobile gaming head, and they get a bad rap. Hopefully that image changes in the future.
I agree.
Um I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next topic. Okay. Little audio issue there. I just paused the recording, but we are back with the next topic here. And that is genre of game you are unwilling to play and why. Now, you came prepared for this question I only just came up with before the recording. So please, I am interested to hear your genre of game you are unwilling to play, and I'm curious if we share it.
Visual novels.
Yeah, we don't share it because I play a lot of those.
Yeah, nope, they are boring. Like, that's the thing. So the reason why I'm so against visual novels is because if I'm going to play a video game, especially if I spent money on a video game, I want to actually play a game and not just be told a story or read a book. Like, if I want to read a book virtually, I'll get it on a Kindle.
This man's never gone through Nekopara. He doesn't understand.
Like, it's just I can't do visual novels. I can't.
That's fair. It's a hard. I'm not gonna say it's a hard thing to get into, but it's definitely only reaching a specific audience.
Yeah.
Weebs.
No, weeps for the most part. Yeah.
For the most part, yeah, it's mainly weebs. That's me.
It's me.
That's me. Uh, so I guess for me, mine, I couldn't figure out like the actual name for this genre. So I literally just put Last of Us style games.
Survival horror.
Survival horror, third person, over the shoulder, narrative driven. Because my problem with these games, and I've expressed this with you before, is that I feel they focus so much on the narrative that the gameplay just lacks.
Yeah. I mean, it's essentially just playing a. It's like the Telltale games.
But even Telltale, they let you play a lot better of the game, and I like the idea that your choices matter in those. And games like The Last of Us and games that try to copy it, your choices don't matter. You're playing a linear story in a not so fun gameplay scenario with not the best gun mechanics in gaming. I mean, it's not my style of game. I want fun gameplay and a compelling story, but I also don't need like the most gritty realism with everything in order to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's just me. A lot of people like The Last of Us. People I talk to like those style of games. I like a good narrative, but I want to be able to work with the narrative and not have the narrative be there. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't want to be forced into somebody telling me a story. I want the choice of saying, hey, uh, I'd like to hear the story. I'd like to hear the reason why I'm doing this thing, and not have it forced down my throat while I'm trying to do
Absolutely.
something.
Exactly. Like it's an annoying thing to deal with, and maybe it also probably has a lot to do with the fact that I can be very impatient with games. Um, it I'm the kind of guy where I need to get I Nakey Jakey, YouTuber, said it best that you have a goopy goblin brain or goopy goblin gamer brain, where it's
What?
like all this cool stuff is happening, but the goopy goblin gamer brain myself's like, yeah, this is really cool, but can we go back to the part where I'm firing a rocket launcher?
Yeah, right.
Like that kind of describes my brain. But it's funny because I like slower paced games too. Like if I'm playing Civ 5 or something, I think it has to do with the fact that I know what I'm getting into with those style of games.
I think it
Um,
has a lot to do with like the mindset too. Like, I like a narrative driven game. I like a game that I'm involved in. I'm not really one for just sitting around and watching the game play itself. But
totally.
but there are exceptions, like I'm now in the mindset right now of playing RuneScape, and the majority of early RuneScape leveling is sitting around and watching the character do stuff. I mean, even combat is sitting and watching the character do stuff.
Yep. And that's the best part about it.
Yeah, so I mean, it really is just the mindset of how you go into the game.
Totally. And maybe I'm just coming in with too negative of mindset, but games like The Last of Us and even stuff like Uncharted, it never like caught my eye.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really like Uncharted. At least there is a story and you get to play the game.
Totally.
I don't I don't think I mean, like I'm on the side with you with when it comes to The Last of Us. I don't think it's that great. I think it's a pretty mediocre retold story over and over again of post-apocalyptic stuff. I think that they just stole their zombie ideas from Left 4 Dead and Dead Space. Um and I don't think the characters are as compelling as everybody thinks they are.
Everyone knows the only good post-apocalyptic game is Fallout.
All right, well, hold on. So let's not forget that Splatoon is a post-apocalyptic game, and that's a
I
good game.
I was talking with my buddy, my work buddy Lester. He's a huge fan of Splatoon. When the direct came out and it was like a really dark direct for like Splatoon, I said to like, what? Splatoon's supposed to be this happy game about squids. Lester goes, no, it's not.
Yeah, dude, you clearly did not know the lore of Splatoon.
I was so shocked to like to learn that, and I was like, whoa, yeah, this is a dark, depressing world.
Oh yeah,
Um, but yeah, those are. I think that's a good way to get off of that topic. Is it's not for us. We come in with the wrong mindset. We're not
yeah.
changing our mind.
No, no, you can't change my mind on visual novels. It'll never happen.
You won't change my mind on Last of Us style games. It's not for me. It's partially why I have trouble getting through JRPGs because the narrative takes away from the gameplay.
Yeah,
Unlike in Pokemon,
yeah.
Pokemon lets me still play the game.
There is definitely something to say about there being too much narrative. I mean, even harking back to Dungeons and Dragons, if there's too much narrative and you take away from player agency or their ability to make decisions or do anything, yeah, it's not going to be a fun experience.
Not gonna be a fun experience. Um, I think we'll end this stream with one last thing, and that's the rant corner. If you have anything to rant about, here's the place to do it at the end of the stream. Chris, I want to give the floor to you first before I can start ranting about whatever.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a rant. I just thought about it, but nothing like I said, other than work, nothing is really irking me right now. And
I'll
I
give.
kind of and I kind of got my feelings out about Vashtor.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I have something I could rant about, and I'm kind of in a small minority of. I want to say small minority. I'm in a very like group mindset with my friends. In playing Yu-Gi-Oh, a lot of my friends do not like are not really interested in modern Yu-Gi-Oh at the moment. Um,
Because it sucks.
it doesn't. It really doesn't suck. If you like, So we've been and I'm not saying I don't enjoy the old Yu-Gi-Oh we've been playing. We've been playing a format called Edison format. It's basically like halfway through the Synchro era and below. It's been really cool to play. There's some really fun decks. I'm even going to be building an Edison deck. Um, but I recently just bought the latest set, Maze of Memories, which comes with all the new Gate Guardian support. So that it's a competent deck now. Um, and it's so cool to play. Like I just messing around with it even has just been incredible to play and all the new support that comes in through Amazonas, which has been another deck I've been having a lot of success with dueling me and my friends, which is all who I really duel anyway. I've been enjoying speed duels, and there's modern format can be a lot of fun, but I understand. I get the hate for it. I do because Kashtira and Labyrinth are probably the biggest decks right now, and they're so annoying to fight against because Kashtira literally locks you out of all but one of your zones. Either a one monster zone or one spell and trap zone, and then Labyrinth is a super annoying trap deck that consistently makes you say, "No, you're not playing. No, you don't get to play. Oh, I'm so sorry, you no play."
Well,
And I
that's
get that
annoying.
it's so bad because all of their cards are trap cards that plus them, and there's a card that came out called Lord of the Heavenly Sky Prison, um, which makes it so you reveal him at the start of your turn, or you reveal him whenever. But when he's revealed, he stays revealed until the end of your opponent's next turn, and while he's revealed, none of your face down spell and trap cards can be destroyed.
Wow.
And then once you when a trap is activated, you can special summon him, set one spell and trap from your deck, and then you've plussed. Like your cards are indestructible. You can get off the starter trap card, which summons like a 2900 from deck that can rip cards out of your hand, and then that trap card can summon a 3K beater from your hand. It's an incredible advantage loop with the deck's called Labyrinth. Um, it's an incredible advantage loop that is so frustrating to fight against.
Well,
Um,
sounds like a effect veiler meta needs to make a comeback.
I mean, like it could like so. I I like Effect Veiler. I think it still has a lot of potential for hand traps right now, considering Kashtira like locks you out of playing the game, and you need
Sure.
to negate their effect in order to get your zones back.
Yeah.
Um, it's frustrating to play against, but the third place deck, Branded, is one of the coolest decks to watch and one of the coolest decks to play as because you are very powerful enough to beat decks like Kashtira and Labyrinth, but you kind of have to work towards it. You're very versatile with all your plays, and the fact that it is a fusion based archetype is really cool to me. You know,
I
I
haven't had one of those in a while.
so like yeah, because like a lot of like a lot of Yugi boomers will
You,
I'm
that's me.
a lot of Yu-Gi boomers will look at like modern Yu-Gi-Oh and they'll think that's all link spam. It's all like incredibly, one-sided. What like all this summon mechanics is broken. It's probably the most powerful. Pendulums are the stupidest and most broken thing ever. Pendulums haven't been
Pendulum.
relevant for like 10 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say pendulums are because there's a guy at work that complains heavily about pendulums. He's like, "Oh, I stopped playing because pendulums are busted," and it's like, dude, pendulum summoning and pendulum combos can be stopped with one card. Like it's not that bad.
Just play bottomless and you got rid of their whole field.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Like
like I just don't understand the whole pendulum is busted thing. And when I make my joke about how modern Yu-Gi-Oh sucks, I mean it was a joke.
I
Obviously.
know.
Um, I think in modern Yu-Gi-Oh is fine. I just don't play, like I used to. Like you had made the comment before we started the stream how there's a few card games and just hobbies in general that I won't pursue any further, but I'll hold on to the stuff because I if we want to start picking up and playing again, I'll have whatever I previously had. You know,
Totally.
that's
I mean,
that's why I don't that's why I don't throw out my 7th edition 40K books, because at some point I would love to play some 7th edition 40K again.
totally. Oh my god, that'd be awesome. I remember you and Mia even had the talk about like having like an edition war. We take our favorite edition from uh one of the armies and then just pit them against each other because why not?
Yeah, I think that would be great because I mean, 5th edition Necrons and 5th edition Orcs were like the best versions of those.
Facts. Um, but yeah, well, and it's not just you. I hear this from a lot of like Yu-Gi boomers and people who are just anti-modern Yu-Gi-Oh. When modern Yu-Gi-Oh has some of the most diverse and fun ways to play, although I will admit the meta for Yu-Gi-Oh is annoying as crap.
Yeah.
And I play against meta often because I go on ladder on like YGO Omega or um I'll see things on Master Duel and get hit with them. It's annoying to face. But when you're stuck around with some of your friends and you build competitive casual decks, oxymoron I know, but you build a casual deck to the best level of your ability, it can
Oh
be some
yeah.
of the most fun you have in modern Yu-Gi-Oh. I built like you faced my dinosaur deck. Um, I love that deck. It's by no means competitively viable, although it can make really good boards and really cool plays. Um, but it's so fun to play with, and I can't do that in older format Yu-Gi-Oh. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just been a little bit of irk for me. I only have one friend that wants to play modern Yu-Gi-Oh, and he only wants to play Dark Magician. And I'm going to
One of
stomp him if he does.
one of those guys.
I mean, yeah, but at least he's playing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Edison format's fun. Uh, Side note: if you're playing Goat format, you're dumb. Worst format of Yu-Gi-Oh. It is so boring. I do not like Goat format.
I don't know what any of that stuff is.
So Goat format, as a quick thing, is basically like DM era only Yu-Gi-Oh. Where it was like during like the first few ban lists where like Pot of Greed is at one, Graceful Charities at one, Delinquent Duos at one. You're basically paying like 25 staple cards and then whatever you want. And it's not fun. It's just not.
I was gonna say, it sounds like you're allowed to play a lot of the really, really busted cards that were banned
You
for a
are.
reason.
You are. It's not great because you'll see the person. There was a video of like the AI Trump and Biden playing Goat format, and the one Trump like hit or he discarded Thunder Dragon, added two Thunder Dragons, hit Graceful Charity, drew 3 cards, discarded both Thunder Dragons, and then hit Delinquent Duo. There's nothing you can do to your opponent in this scenario. Like your
Yeah.
opponent can't play. He just lost. He just went minus like 4,
Yeah. You pretty much just have to deal with it at that point.
and that's so boring. Meanwhile, like the people who will defend Go format are like, well, it's slower and deck building was so much better. I've been playing Edison format. Set pass is still a fine strategy.
Yeah.
Like you can still do that in Edison format, unlike in modern where it's mainly through combos or control. But set a defense monster is fine in Edison format with synchro monsters with the highest attack synchro monster being Red Dragon Archfiend.
Oh, jeez.
So like it's not that strong, guys. But it's fun. I run Six Samurai in there, and like they don't have any of the busted Six Samurai stuff. They just have the base Six Samurai stuff.
Yeah.
But you have a couple extra support cards. But it's super fun. Um, but modern Yu-Gi-Oh deserves some more love than it deserves. Even on a casual level, it's still a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, I had a good time when we played last.
Yeah, I thought we had a lot of fun.
Playing like Naturia and Battle and Boxer.
Oh, totally.
Forgot what the like. I know like on your comment about how playing some not competitive or playing casual but competitive casual. I mean, I feel like that's what we've always done. We've always tried to make the best decks possible out of like the casual, not super great cards,
Yeah,
and like none could be more memey and more fun than that Gaia deck that you showed me.
I love that Gaia deck.
That looked like it was good. It could have been really fun to play.
And bro, I'm telling you, it's so cool and they do this with a lot of archetypes. They'll just like hand them some extra support or like basically give them an archetype like they did with Gaia, and there's like, hey, go wild with it. Like have some fun with it. The Magical
Yeah.
Dragon Knight for Gaia is such a cool fusion monster because it involves the battle phase. You still get to pop cards. It counts as Gaia the Dragon Champion, so all of the support cards for that like Spiral Spear Strike and things all support it. It's such a cool deck.
Too bad Catapult Turtle doesn't support it.
No, but you got a retrain of Catapult Turtle that you contribute to Special Gaia Monster.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he launches a Gaia monster onto the field.
Love it.
I thought about this a bit ago because I remember a while ago we talked about I think we talked about it on the last episode where we talked about our created Yu-Gi-Oh series.
Oh yeah, the decks that we made.
Well, not only that, I thought about just the concept of itself.
Yeah, you're talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! For Glory.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! For Glory. I kept thinking about that, and my buddy Lester came up with said something in passing that I stopped for a second. I went, wait, that's genius. So, hear me out. let me cook for a sec.
All right.
We take Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters that we make or whatever, like we our self-insert pro tags, and we make characters based around the decks like they do in the show. However, the setting is in a wrestling style promo setting. So everyone has their persona with their deck. They go out there and challenge them to duels like they do in wrestling. And if they need a gimmick match, they could use like turbo duels or action duels and things like that as the special conditions for it.
Why does that sound like it would work really well?
It would work so well! And you can still get the trash talk in, you can still get crowd involvement in. Like, it sounds like it would work so well.
Wow. I think we might have to change up For Glory. Like,
we do! We might have to, because it works too well.
It really does.
Like, you come out to someone, like, talking smack, and he's like, I heard everything you've been saying about my monsters, how I run my deck, and I'll have you know I can do better than you, and I'll prove it to you in a speed duel, and he drops the mic. And the crowd's like, oh my god, a speed duel! Holy crap!
I mean, it would be awesome, because then, we could come up with, like, theme songs for each character, too.
Yes! It would be so good!
Wow. I can't believe this is actually going to happen now.
It's funny, going back to D&D, I always wanted to create, like, an arena, but based around wrestling, to have, like, characters come out, and like, this would be a real gladiatorial killing arena, but with pizzazz.
Yeah.
Have the theme music come out.
And maybe not fighting to the death.
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe it'll be like, they'll look up to the owner of the arena, and they'll give him the thumbs up, thumbs down thing.
Yeah, that could work too.
Maybe if it was like an end of a rivalry sort of deal, he'll give him the thumbs up.
That could be pretty cool.
It was such a cool idea. I want to do that with Yu-Gi-Oh! So bad because it would be so funny.
I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
It's not, and I'm very happy it's not. Oh god. Is there anything else I feel like I need to rant about?
No, I mean, was there something about wrestling? Because I know in our text message, I said if there's anything wrestling based, because I know you wanted to talk about it for a while.
Oh God, I could talk about what's going on in Raw and how much I'm loving it. It's been a while since I felt so invested in watching wrestling. Um,
Maybe we can push that for a topic for next recording. Then
totally.
I'd
Um,
be game.
yeah, I think we can. We'll save the wrestle talk for next week. Next week.
Next week.
Next episode.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll save it for next episode. Before I start going off about how much I'm loving WWE in general right now.
Yeah.
Because I think we'll stop for now. I think we covered a lot of topics. I had some fun recording. And any last words? I'll let you get the outro, Chris.
All right. Just remember, everybody, to pay your bills on time. And GW, I swear to God, if you don't make those Gorgon kits good, I'm gonna poop in your cereal.
Literally, like droplings in the cereal.
Yeah. And I'll make sure I had Taco Bell the day before. I will let that thing brew for an 8-hour shift.
All right, bye, folks.
All right, bye.